Alright, so in this video I'm going to show you if your animatronic is dry rotting or not, and how to tell the early stages of dry rot. This is a issue that I feel like a lot of people know, and a lot of people disrespect, including myself. A lot of people can't dedicate their whole seasons and lives and days to keeping these things safe, but that's what happens. So we're going to talk about the causes, the signs, what happens, what it looks like, everything. So this is part of an animatronic here, the Haunted Mansion Night from Lowe's. It's actually really bad quality. The head just has like a connection there that goes in. It won't even fully go in. Mine, the mouth, hits the fingers because it's kind of bent. But I just keep it on here, on the arm, because it's kind of hard to take on and off. But also, look at that horrible job the company did, which it's a brand named Gemmy, which if you ever see the Gemmy symbol on a box, just guarantee it's not even nearly the quality of like a Spirit Halloween one. So, I mean, they are pretty bad quality, and they are indoor only, and they say usually like porch use as the exception, but even with that, you gotta be careful. So, we're going to show the signs in a minute, but here's the things that cause dry rot. Now, as human beings, we are bound to break one of these rules at some point, unless you are literally Jeff Bezos himself. So, you need to keep them in a climate-controlled space, like an indoor storage unit facility, a warehouse, a pole barn with like AC or something, a basement or something that can keep a temperature good most of the year. Now, obviously, climate-controlled storage units can be hard to find in some areas, and they're really expensive. We use outdoor storage units, but here's the thing. These things start dry rotting from the cold, the heat usually, the sun, and a change in, temperature. And if they're just, in the heat, or if they're in the cold, and especially if they're out in your yard, with the sun just shining above it, it gets pretty screwed up. This one, for example, is on my porch. They get pretty screwed up. Well, they are indoor only, but there are exceptions we all make, because, let's just admit it, it's a Halloween decoration. We're probably not putting them up inside our house just for fun. We're probably setting them up outside for people to see. So, the signs of dry rotting. So, just exclude the fact that his facial hair looks like this. I mean, it looks like that out of the box. It looks horrible. So, mouth movement right there. It's a latex that should be pretty squishy. Now, we're also going to determine if your prop has a latex, vinyl, or silicone face, because all of those are used in the retail market. Some beginners don't know this. Some average people don't know this. Some home people don't know this. So, also, the latex will start getting really untight around this. They try and hot glue it in, areas like that. And also, normally, it'll have, a little fork connector coming out that hooks into the prop. But it shouldn't be necessarily this baggy at first. It should be just a little more form-fitting than this. They also can get pretty deformed from shipping. But it'll also start to feel a little hard after having outside. I had this out for a month, and it wasn't even going most of the time. Now, I'm also about to go into the care guide, so don't you guys leave. I'm about to talk about how you even keep these outside. If you do not take care of them right outside, I can guarantee you're probably going to be putting it in the trash at the end of the season. Or selling it for parts. But it'll become a little baggy. This glue that holds it in the back might also start coming loose. That's a sign. Because the heat is getting to it. Now, this is where the real test comes in. You see this is the top of his hat? Or his, night helmet? It's not HD, maybe with the light it will. Look at those little cracks. Now, it's supposed to have a crackly texture. Mind my nails, I've been working a lot lately, lifting things. Look at that. Now that you could be like, oh, well, here, just a clean fleek. But that's going to become something big. That definitely is. So, I'm sorry, but if you think that's little now, wait till you see the future of this thing. Probably in a few years, this is going to be yellow and falling apart. But that's just what happens to them. They're pretty screwed up. if you leave them outside. Also, the hair on this one just sheds like crazy. But how you can prevent this outside is, of course, if you have this one, he's holding his head, but normally they're not. If it's plastic, you don't really need to worry about the head. And I guess first we'll talk about how to determine if it's vinyl, silicone, or latex. Latex is definitely the most vulnerable. Silicone isn't as vulnerable, but still, you should never have any face that feels rubbery. That should never be outside for extended periods of time, or if so, you should take care of it. So, this is about latex. It's like white on the inside. It has kind of a little bit of a grainy texture, but it's also fairly thin and bendable for a mouth to move, but it's not going to be necessarily rubbery or stretchy. It's just going to feel a little like soft. But if it's stretchy, like if you have the Home Depot Frankenstein or something, that would be silicone, which you got to be careful with because that can get easily ripped putting it back in the box. My Frankenstein was put in the box and one of the poles jabbed right through the latex, and now he has a hole in his head. So, or the silicone. Okay, sorry I said latex. It's actually silicone on him. So that's about silicone if it's like stretchy feeling. And if it's vinyl, then it'll feel like very flat, kind of. And it'll feel kind of rubberish, but it should normally have like a plastic form underneath. At least from ones I have, they're like that. Now, how do you keep these outside? That is the big question, obviously, that you all were waiting for. Everybody has different ideas, but I think I've kind of cracked the code for what I would do. If it's more of a tall prop, like let's just say 9 to 10 feet or over, rebar stakes work really good. They're kind of like candy cane shaped, but they're black. These are good for tall props, and they'll keep them in the ground. They're a little hard to get in and out. If you're kind of weak, then you're going to need help. But it definitely gets it in a sandbag or two, and then they'll be anchored. But listen to me when I say this, because well-anchored bases don't mean the rest of the prop is safe necessarily. If you have really high winds, then you should probably anchor it down, but at the same time, you should take out the stakes on them and lay them down in huge winds. Like if you live in Florida and you got like 50-mile-per-hour winds, lay them down for one thing. But here's where it comes in. So underneath their clothing, normally they'll have some cheap clothing. You pull that up and then you thread the arms through and slide the head in. And then you might run the sensor out through the front of the clothing. What I've always done, and it's never really failed me, is take a big old trash bag, not the little ones, a big trash bag, one of those black ones, and while you're setting it up, drape it over the control box, or like the shoulders and everything. Use your finger to poke a few little holes for the arms, and poke a hole for the head to slide into. You can also poke a hole for that little sensor to come through, and then that can hook up into the clothes. You put the clothes over, and then you just act like it's normal. And if you need to access the control box, then you can just pull up the plastic bag, and it usually works. And then you put their head on, which is usually latex. But I will say this: the heads need to be covered up in trash bags in the rain. I actually didn't do this a few times, and I'm kicking myself to this day. Obviously, we all go on trips sometimes. We all go see our elderly grandparents or such. We all go to a doctor's appointment, and we walk out, and it's raining. We pull up, the animatronics are on, and they're being drenched. So that's bad. I would just, like, wipe their head off in that case with the trash bag on the outside, and then just put it on. But if you can, and you just look into the forecast when you're setting these up, especially make sure you're setting them up on a good day, but when you're taking care of these, make sure that you look into the forecast every day, just to see what they think the weather is going to be. Because if it's raining, you want to pre-plan, or when the rain is not that bad, you want to cover them up. Just put a trash bag over, tighten it, and you're ready to go. Now, they can blow off, but that's why you just got to be careful with them. But latex parts also can be brought in. If you don't think your latex head or something should be out on your prop, then you can also just move it. Take it off, unhook it, unwire it if it has wires, and then put a trash bag over the shoulders. If you have one of these ones, though, which if you're an oldie but a goodie, then you probably have this kind. This is like an older prop called by the same company as that, but that's like a modern item of theirs, and it's horrible quality compared to this stuff. So this one's actually plastic, but with a latex mouth. So I wouldn't just keep this on your porch just because these ones have an unstable base. But of course, be careful with these older ones. But that's one of the older types of ones that you can get. And of course, if you're setting up props for Christmas, just please do not put them outside in like the snow and such. They're not even built to be outside in the fall. Why would you put them out in the winter? I know you probably want to, but your windows will work just fine. Inflatables are more of what you would go with. But anyway, signs of dry rotting. Look for the cracking. That means it's an early sign, but it'll also get, believe me, a lot worse over time, and you'll be able to tell. Just keep them out of the heat, keep them out of the cold. You should be good. Of course, in your house is preferable. Put them back in their box if you can, but usually they don't fit back in their box perfectly. An outdoor storage unit is fine. That's what we're doing, but you just gotta be careful of how long they're out there, and you gotta keep an eye on them if they're outside. Oh yeah, and if you have like a little prop, and you gotta stake it into the ground, there's this little like landscaping pin things. You use them for like landscaping fabric to hold it down over your vegetables or something. But these work for little props. 6 inches is gonna hold them in for the whole season. No punk or wet freak or whatever is gonna come into your yard and just grab them out, unless you live in a savage type neighborhood. But anyway, for everything horror, this is ABC Halloween. Please subscribe for more videos like this, and if you enjoy these kind of instructional videos for some people that don't know, please hit the like button. Bye.